And we're live once again. Angular Unfiltered. We had a slight delay there, but that's okay. That's how things go. And we're just gonna roll with it. Let me change up this thing here. There we go. Blue colors because I like blue. Angular Unfiltered. It's not Angelic show today. Today I have with me Ellie Nichols. Y'all see me, y'all know who I am, Brandon T. Roberts on Twitter. So there you go. Ellie Nichols is with me today. Glad to have you on. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey Brandon, how's it going? Hey audience, hey Twitter, hey social network. I'm a senior engineer and a developer. Right now I work at an organization called McKesson. So I'm in the health IT space. I also do a lot of nonprofit and social stuff as well. Currently the co-chair of the tech committee at DevColor. So yeah, and I'm an Angular developer too. I've been developing Angular for maybe 7 years now. Yeah, so
Okay.
happy to be here.
Okay, so six. Let's get right into it then. 6 years. That's probably, well, I would say you've probably been there since the beta days, like early Angular 2.
Yeah.
Early Angular 2. How long? Where did you start out when you were getting on with Angular development, or did you start with Angular JS and kind of where did you go from there?
Yep, I started with Angular JS. I was doing like hybrid app development, so I was using this framework called Zerb and Angular together. It was interesting, but I'll be honest with you, like the first few days of Angular like made me not like it. Yeah, Angular 2 came about, and it was like, oh yes. So yeah, I go way back where it was complicated, and it was probably because I had so many other priorities going on as far as learning certain. I was in .NET world, and then I was trying to move over to the front end, and Angular was like my savior when I was trying to do that. So yeah, I go back in those days.
Yeah, that seems to be the trend as far as like Angular devs are concerned. I've done some .NET more or less background or .NET development server side, and also like former PHP developer and that. But it seems like at least from comparing it to the .NET world, that seems like an easy transition that a lot of devs have made. It's going from .NET to Angular, which I think is interesting.
Yep, I don't know. It's a lot of the developers who I knew who come from the early Angular days were definitely a lot of them were on .NET. So I was one of them, and I was a PHP developer too. So
okay, so see, there you go. It seems like the natural transition there.
Yeah.
You do some PHP, you do some .NET, then you're like, hey, let's give Angular a try, right? Angular JS at the time, and then kind of transition to Angular. So what is
go ahead. It wasn't a bad transition. It was just, again, I think I was learning too much at one time, and I couldn't focus fully on like learning Angular, and it was just, it was quite an interesting journey with the first part of Angular. But then the new Angular came about, and it was like, it just made so much sense. This is the whole project structure, and the model view controller. It made sense because I came from that type of environment.
Yeah, so you're saying that you didn't particularly like Angular JS, but you like Angular, or the early versions of Angular where you didn't like those too much?
I liked it, but it was complicated in the sense that I was using it in. And I was using it in hybrid app development, using it with various libraries. Zerb was like the big one. And
I remember Zerb. Zerb used to be like Zerb Foundation or something like that, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. I've built a lot of apps, web apps, and then they got into like the mobile app development portion of it, and then Ionic came about, and so yeah, I come from that realm. Yeah, I'm old.
Well, I don't hide this fact. I say I'm an old man now, so I've been around the web dev block for a while, so
Yep.
like I said, I've heard of Zerb and the older ones, Sencha and EXTJS,
Yep.
and those older frameworks that some of the
Some of those
new devs
frameworks,
haven't heard of.
yeah, and then and like some of those frameworks were making you pay. I think Sencha was one that you had to pay for like libraries and elements, and yeah, Ionic was one as well. So yeah, quite interesting.
So what kind of I guess what kind of stuff are you doing with Angular these days? Can you talk about kind of like the projects that you've worked on before, or like what you're currently doing?
Yeah, I've used Angular mainly in like dashboard creation. The recent project I was working on right now that I'm kind of moving away from the development side of it, that I built was an analytics tool, Health IT. I work for the Health IT organization, so we're using it with big data, big patient data, and so a lot of the teams who are in our organization are using React, but I decided they gave me they basically was like, okay, well, how do you want to build this? We need it built and we have a need for it right away. I chose Angular because I needed something that would scale. Yeah, I needed something that would be easy enough for developers who had never worked with frameworks to be able to pick up. And I'm so happy I did because that's exactly what happened. We started getting junior developers on the on the team, and it was just like a piece of cake picking it up. So yeah, right now it's basically the tool that I was working on, and I can't really say a whole lot about it. It's an analytics tool, and it aggregates big data that comes from inventory, patient inventory. So.
Okay, so you've been through it sound like you've been through the grind on like not down at the bottom, but you've been on the grind as far as having to do the development stuff there, and now you're like moving into a more of an oversight, like you said, senior leadership role there. So how's that transition been from like the person that had to like implement the things to more of a role of trying to help other people do the things instead?
I mean, I've mentored before, so it's a lot of mentoring and a lot of coaching. I think it's a little bit different when it comes to Angular projects because, like, we can be working on something, and then here comes another iteration of Angular. So, I think when we started building the analytics tool, we were on Angular 7, and we thought, okay, we're ready to launch, and then here comes some scope creep, and then there's more things that we need to implement, and then and then now we're on Angular 9, getting ready to switch to Angular 10. So
Okay.
outside of
I say y'all you're doing pretty good if y'all are already about to upgrade to version 10. Most projects or larger projects, they kind of wait,
yeah.
let things get ironed out.
Yeah, I mean and that's a big thing is because when moving from being like the lead developer on the application and then kind of like overseeing the development is like I have to say when it's time to make those updates. You know what I mean? And I have to make sure that the developers who are also building are ready for it too. So it's like it's a mentor / coaching thing. And then, I have to stay up to date with all the new stuff too. So I'm always looking at you guys' tweets, like getting all the good stuff, like trying to sound like I know what I'm talking about. So.
Hey, from what I can tell, you've been in the game long enough to know what you're talking about. So
Yeah.
I don't think
so far so good.
Yeah, it seems like you're doing just fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and ask the question as far as like the project itself. Are you just using Angular CLI? Or are you using NX or anything custom like that? Or you just straight up CLI project? Okay, I think she froze. Okay, we'll see if she comes back in a second. If you have any other questions while we wait on her to come back, then we'll see. Let's see. and we'll be right back. All right, folks, I think we are having some technical difficulties here. So we'll see about getting her back on. Just RxJS. Hey, Ravshin, if you'll add that comment again, then we'll see about getting an answer about that. And we may, if we have the difficulties continue, then we'll have to come back and bring her back on another time. Okay.
This virtual world that we live in, suddenly, like this, it's like 100% virtual. It's just like not agreeing with me. I'm in meetings all day, and you know how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know how it is. I know that we were on a short time schedule today, so we'll go ahead, and I know there was one thing I wanted to talk to you about, and that's how you're involving with Dev Color. So if you want to go ahead and talk about that, then we can go ahead and wrap up. And if, like I said, if we can schedule another time to maybe come back on and have more time to chat.
Yep. Definitely.
But yeah, tell us about Dev Color, and then we'll wrap up on that one.
Okay. So Dev Color is it's a nonprofit, 501c3 nonprofit, and the focus is on really like career development for Black software engineers.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a networking component. So if you are, within just the Black software engineering space, we're like spread out. Mm-hmm. So having Dev Color in place, or having an organization like Dev Color allows us to be able to network. And then there's also like there's the you have the social component, and then you have the career development component. And so a lot of the folks who are in Dev Color are people like myself. I'm the co-chair of the tech committee. You have people like myself. You have senior engineers at like Netflix. You have developers from all over. Right now we're only in 4 locations, but we're trying to get the virtual component of our squads. We call them squads. They're basically groups. Mm-hmm. And the goal is for Black software engineers to network and assist each other in their career development.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about Dev Color. I had seen it before, but I hadn't known anything about it until you said something. I'll go ahead and bring up the page here for the people who want to see it. But yeah, like I said, I follow them on Twitter, but like that's just been recently as far as I had seen it and known about it. So
excellent organization. They started out in 2015. I think I came in 2016, so I was kind of a part of the core group. But there was like six software engineers who met at like lunch or dinner, and they formed this group called Dev Color, and the next thing you know, a year and a half later, they're building a complete organization around their networking. And so their applications are open. So if you're in Atlanta, if you're in New York, if you're in Seattle, or if you are in San Francisco where I am, you can go and apply. That's our main chapter hubs. And we're trying to get a virtual group going on as well.
Okay.
Where are you at? You're in New York, or where are you at?
I'm in Alabama, actually.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So I'm close to Atlanta. Atlanta, I think, is the closest spot to me where all the tech community. I know there are a lot of Black software engineers in Atlanta that I was unaware of until recently. Angel Banks put me on when she invited me to speak at conferences in Atlanta. So it was definitely eye-opening to me. I'll go ahead. Like I said, I know you got to run here. I'll go ahead and put up the devcolor.org link there if y'all want to check that out. Also, you can also follow her on Twitter. Her handle is right there next to her name. Thank you for coming on. Hopefully we can have you back on another time. And we can talk more about what you're doing in Angular stuff.
Okay,
like I said, I know we had a short time today, but that's fine. We still got more to do. So, but thanks for coming on.
All right, Brandon.
Thanks for the people in the chat.
Catch the rest of this. If you come back on or you keep streaming, I'll try and see if I can catch the rest of this by the time I end my day. So, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Bye.